And with that, we're gonna quickly, since we're a little bit behind, we're gonna go straight into our interview with Dayoman, Piper, and Laura to talk
Yeah,
about some Spyro mods.
yeah, let's get it, man.
All right, guys, welcome back to the interview corner of Spyrothon 8. My name's the SirBorris, and today we have a very, very
Think we
exciting
get it.
interview for you. We've got three of the brightest minds in OG Spyro: Dayoman, Laura, and Piper. Guys, how are we?
Good.
Good. Happy
Yeah,
to be
I'm
here.
doing absolutely amazing. Thank you for having us.
Go Spyro! Woo!
This guy.
Now, I am so excited to have you guys on today because you guys have one of the most unique runs in the entire event. We've got obviously later on in the event, we have the Co-op 120 race in SRT, but I think this is just as interesting, if not more interesting. Don't tell them I said that though. Who's the creative genius behind mods like these? I mean, you guys are running an Invis mod showcase. There's not going to be any ground available for Dayo to actually play with. Who's the brains behind this sort of operation?
So this particular mod was created by myself, and like the process for creating stuff like this, for this particular one, I didn't actually set out to make this particular mod. I kind of just stumble across stuff like this. I've been working on deconstructing some parts of the game engine, and as part of doing that, I end up finding stuff in the game code that I don't know what it does. My default way of finding out what things do is to break it and see what vanishes. And I found out how to make the terrain vanish. And then I had the idea, you know what? I wonder if I could finish the game like this. And that's how this started. And I didn't actually expect anyone else to care or want to do it themselves. So I am really honored that Dayo reached out and was like, hey, can I do this? And here we are.
That's awesome. And so you weren't actually looking to create a mod like this. You just stumbled across it in the code. Is that right? I was going to ask if you had any unexpected challenges trying to do this, but it sounds like you've just done it accidentally. That's awesome.
Yeah, almost all the stuff that I've done has been kind of accidental, just as in the course of me experimenting with the game, trying to figure out how the code works. Sometimes while doing that, silly stuff happens, and sometimes it's just really boring and never sees anything beyond my computer. But sometimes it looks, I managed to touch on something that is interesting or funny enough to put up on Twitter or to make a whole Twitch stream about. And the invisible ground one was one that I decided to make a whole stream out of, and now other people are following suit.
That's incredible. And Dayo, you're one of the ones to follow suit, aren't you? Tell me what it's like to route some of these levels. Now, we are doing an Invis showcase here, so we do have an hour limit, obviously, on your run. What was it like to route some of these levels? Were there some challenges involved? I remember sitting there in your stream watching the nasty Nork fight, which we'll get to a little bit later in the interview. I know there were some challenges there, but talk us through the process.
So with this invisible terrain showcase, the routing is completely different than what you'd see in a standard run. The main difference is that you have to really be careful with how you conserve gems in order to be able to see the world around you. The more gems you collect, those are one of your only visual references is gems. So if you collect a lot of gems and then find you have to backtrack through an area after you've collected gems, there are a lot of areas that are almost impossible to navigate without having the gems there for the visual reference. So you'll end up, Piper and I will, in our full 120 playthroughs, we kind of took a lot of care to make sure we'd skip gems and leave gems in certain areas, so that way we can backtrack to them later as to make it as reasonably simple as possible. And to that end, it helps out a lot to save before going into each level. In fact, my first playthrough of this no terrain version of Spyro, I got stuck because I completed all of Ice Cavern basically, except for the part where you go into the inner cavern. You have to like jump up a couple little shelves, and each one of those has a gem on it. So it's easy the first time you try it, but if you collect those gems and you save your game, then you basically, I was sitting there for like 3 hours trying to get up, just like basic platforming. It's like all. It really makes you take for granted or realize what you take for granted when it comes to just the simplicity of platforming in a 3D space when you can't see the collision around you.
Oh, absolutely. I do not envy you. And like I said, I remember being in that stream watching. I'm like, oh, this poor man, this poor guy. But no, you
was
stuck
very
through it. I
painful.
want to come back to that thought process a little bit later. But first, Laura, I wanted to come over to you and your experience in the modding scene. Not necessarily with the OG 120, 120 Invis, I should say, but 120. Sorry, that's the co-op. But the OG Invis. But more specifically within your realm, I know you have a lot of experience within the modding scene as well, and I know a lot of people within the community that are actually part of that as well. Can you take us through what your role in that sort of area is, and can you give us a hint on anything that might be upcoming or maybe that got announced recently?
So, not to brag about being a little bit of an insider, but I'm good friends with a lot of people that are very talented with decompilation and deconstruction of this game. And I can, in fact, confirm that as of today, as of the day that this interview has been recorded, a ROM hack by Altro50 and Shroom HWD/HWD405 has been publicly announced, which features the first full, complete custom level for Spyro the Dragon, among other features that I can't divulge just yet. They may be shown off, they may not, but it's some absolutely incredible stuff. But apart from that, because that's still upcoming, there are other small things that have been done, such as small scale tweaks, like changing the level of detail with the levels. So the entire level is like this shrunken down, janky, minimal level of detail, which is in a very similar vein to the Invisible level run showcase. It's very similar to that. But on an even smaller scale like that, there are other hacks and mods, such as infinite glide resets, no flopping, so you can wall glide on absolutely everything, and just various little tweaks that have just come out one after another over the years, which you can use to combine to create a very interesting playthrough.
That is very exciting. That's the first I'm hearing of it as well. That's huge. The fact that we could see something like this in a future Spyrothon as well, where we have the ability now to go into these challenge runs, right, within Spyro, the OG Spyro games.
I'm not sure if I should say this, but when I saw the Spyrothon announcement, have you got anything interesting to show? I was like, I went to them. I went to Ultra and HWD, and I was like, hey, do you think maybe you could get a demo out for me? Because I'd really love to debut this at Spyrothon. But unfortunately, it was a pass on that. I was just not far along enough at the time. But I'm sure maybe one day in the future, Spyrothon races or challenges involving this ROM hack will be there.
That's going to be such an exciting space to watch. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm sure everyone at home is as well. And look, I have one last question for you guys. I'm going to pass to each of you on this one, but I'm going to start out with you, Dayo, because I mentioned it a little bit earlier. It's around the mentality in speedrunning, and specifically for you, Dayo, running these sort of challenges blind. I know recently also you did a run with a PS2 DVD remote, which I owned one as a kid. I also tried doing that, never got it past the first level of Spyro 3. Couldn't do it. And here you are doing almost the entire game. How do you stay cool with these sort of challenges? Because you were there for a very long time, and how do you push through that mental strain of sitting on a same level for almost 10 hours?
Yeah, with that controller remote run, that was actually one of my hardest runs to do, just time and mental strain, endurance-wise, because I actually didn't end up finishing it. Like you said, I was in Nasty Nork, just the final level, it was like 12 hours or 10 hours or something like that. It was a really long time. And how do I get through it? Well, I mean, I'm really lucky to have like a really supportive chat and stream that everyone's like, you can do it. And it's like, you can sort of feel, I think in speedrunning and streaming, I think you could really feel the palpable excitement of the sort of environment, like the community around you as you're on a good run. If you're like doing some cool challenge, some weird casual playthrough with like, some roulette wheel that you spin that makes you do silly things. Like these are things that I would never do like offline, but because I have like a really supportive stream, it makes it a lot more exciting. Even having this is all to like small streamers and stuff. Speedrunning, I think, is really a lot of the motivation for it is like kind of community based as well as your own sort of motivation. So if you like a game and you like speedrunning it, you're only going to enjoy it more by having people that are like, yeah, you can do it, don't give up. And even when you get sad and depressed, or you're like 10 hours in Nasty Nork, it's like you just want to keep going. You want to like get past the finish line. You want to like I would have given up so quick if I was offline. And so I think a big motivator is just the actual stream itself. Whether you have a lot of people watching or not, it's just having that there just through all of speedrunning, whether it's a challenge run or not. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura, did you? I know you do some challenge runs of your own. Did you want to weigh in on that one as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's what Daya said. He absolutely hit the nail on the head. I did a challenge run previously of the low LOD hack that I mentioned earlier, and it was very much the same thing. I found it myself struggling with a lot of spots in the game, and just the chat encouragement, was the entire reason to keep going. So.
Yeah, beautiful. And Piper, I know you just mentioned previously you as well. You did the invis levels as well. What's your thoughts on this one?
Oh, like partially just to echo what's already been said. It's great to share it with other people, to have other people there sort of along on the journey with me. Sometimes things like the invisible floor give me a completely different way of experiencing the game. We've all played Spyro, but and we're used to how Spyro moves and all that. But when something is that fundamentally different about the game, it really creates a completely different experience. And for me, it's really cool to be able to just to try and optimize something that I'm not used to doing. It's kind of like playing the game again for the first time, but a lot harder. And I also have done that low LOD thing. I should admit at this point, I'm a little bit of a hermit in the community. I haven't really paid attention to what other people are doing. I didn't know anyone else had done that. But yeah, going through the game with low LOD wasn't that difficult, but I found so many little secrets that were just an absolute delight to find. And it's just so much fun just experiencing the game in a way that reveals things about the game that I've just never seen before.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, guys. Laura, I am so looking forward to seeing what the future of that mod can bring, the ROM hack you were talking about. And Dayo, Piper, I'm looking forward to seeing what you can show off in that showcase later on in the event. So thank you very much for joining me, guys.
It's going to be awesome. Go
Yeah.
Spyrothon. Woo!